The story of Julius Caesar, the great Roman leader who transformed the Republic, is marked by a moment of drama and betrayal that would change the course of history. By the spring of 44 before Christ, Caesar was the most powerful man in Rome, but his rise to absolute power caused alarm in many of his former allies. In the shadows of the Senate, a conspiracy was brewing that would put an end to his life and, with it, his dreams of turning Rome into a monarchy ruled by him. Caesar's death not only represented the end of a man, but the end of an era. Today we will explore the last days of his life, the political context that led to his assassination, and the consequences that shook the foundations of Rome. Welcome to Untold History, the space where we explore the events that changed the course of the world. To understand the magnitude of what was at stake, we need to go back a few years before the fateful March 15, 44 BC, known as the Ides of March. Julius Caesar had been born into a patrician family, but his rise to power was nothing short of extraordinary. After a series of military triumphs, most notably in the Gallic Wars, Caesar became a renowned leader, both on the battlefield and in politics. In 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon with his legions, defying the Republic and unleashing a civil war against Pompey, Rome's other great leader. With Caesar's victory in the Civil War and the death of Pompey, Caesar consolidated his power, but, far from becoming the first emperor, what he sought was to unify and reorganize the Roman Republic. His intention was to repair the political and economic cracks in Rome and make it an even more formidable power. However, many senators saw this as the prelude to a monarchy, a dictatorial government under Caesar. In 44 BC, Caesar was appointed perpetual dictator, a title that sparked fear and anger among those who opposed the concentration of power. The Romans, accustomed to a republic where offices were rotating and limited, saw in this appointment a direct threat to their freedoms and to the ancient republican tradition. The senators feared that Caesar might take the final step and declare his ascension as absolute monarch, depriving the republican structure of all legitimacy. The Senate was divided. Some were loyal to him, while others, more traditional, did not tolerate his absolute power. The last months of Caesar's life were marked by a series of measures that strengthened his control over the empire, such as the reform of the Roman calendar and the redistribution of land, which won him sympathy among the lower classes, but also generated more enmity among the senators. It was in this climate of tensions that the conspiracy against Caesar began to take shape. A group of senators, led by Cassius Longinus and Brutus, came together with the intention of restoring the balance of power in the Republic and preventing what they saw as an absolute reign of Caesar. Interestingly, Brutus, one of the key conspirators, was the son of Servilia, a mistress of Caesar, which added a personal cloak to the betrayal. The conspiracy was kept secret for several months. The conspirators looked for the perfect opportunity to carry out their plan. It is known that several members of the Senate, some of whom had publicly shown themselves to be friends of Caesar, were on the list of traitors. The defining moment came when Caesar announced that he was going to attend the Senate on the Ides of March. The Ides of March began like any other. Caesar, accompanied by his personal escort, walked to the Senate in the theater of Pompey. During the walk, some of his closest friends and allies warned him of the possible dangers that lurked, but he, confident in his power, ignored the warnings. Upon arriving at the Senate, Caesar was greeted by his senators, some of whom were part of the conspiracy. Among them were Cassius, who had been one of the first to plan Caesar's death, and Brutus, the son of his former lover, whose betrayal was particularly painful for Caesar. The conspirators approached Caesar during a series of formal formalities. In a gesture of great symbolism, Cassius was the first to attack. With a dagger, he stabbed him in the upper arm. At the time, more than 60 senators joined the attack, stabbing Caesar repeatedly. Although Caesar tried to defend himself, he soon realized that the blow was deadly. Caesar's famous phrase, "Et tu, brute," You too, Brutus. As Suetonius tells it, reflects the pain of his dear friend's betrayal. The number of stabbings was so great that even Caesar himself was disfigured, having received wounds almost everywhere on his body. Caesar's death was the result of a well-organized and cold conspiracy carried out by those who considered themselves the defenders of the Roman Republic. The death of Julius Caesar generated a series of reactions throughout Rome. Many were shocked and terrified by the brutality of the act, while others celebrated the restoration of the Republic. However, the power vacuum left by Caesar was quickly apparent. The Republic was not restored. Rather, he entered a period of chaos and confrontation, eventually leading to the rise of his adopted heir, Octavian, later known as Caesar Augustus, who would eventually become the first emperor of Rome. Caesar's assassination not only marked the demise of a central figure in Roman history, but also demonstrated the fragility of the republican system in the face of the accumulation of power in the hands of a single man. The act of the conspirators, although noble in their intentions, opened the door to a new era, in which power in Rome would be exercised in an authoritarian manner. Julius Caesar's legacy is complex. While his death brought with it the final dissolution of the Republic, his life and reforms also laid the foundations of the Roman Empire, which would endure for centuries. Caesar was not only a great military man and leader, but also a visionary who understood the importance of transforming power structures. His reform of the calendar, his territorial expansion, and his reorganization of the Roman administration left a deep mark. Despite the conspirators' attempts to halt his march to absolute power, Julius Caesar became a mythical figure who is still remembered as one of the most influential personalities in history. The death of Julius Caesar was not the end that many expected for such a complex figure. His tragic end ushered in a new order, one that, though different from the one he had envisioned, cemented the Roman Empire, an empire that would change the course of history. Through his life and legacy, Caesar remains a fascinating and controversial character whose figure continues to be the subject of study and reflection. Thank you for joining us on this tour of the Ides of March. If you were interested in this episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow us to discover more historical events that marked the world. Until next time, in Untold History.